Now we're live. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. It looks as if we are now live on YouTube. Okay, we're good to go. Sorry if you guys didn't get the intro all of a sudden. Anybody who is on YouTube, go ahead and type a comment on YouTube, and we will have it pop up right here on the screen. Look at that. Who do we got? Who do we got? 33 buds of consciousness, my homie. We're live, baby. All right, confirmation from one of my brothers, one of my homies right there, who actually came to the Flat Earth through Flat Earth Dave. So that's kind of serendipitous there that all kind of lined up. Hey, I call that, here in the following God community, I call that confirmation, my friend. There he is. All right, from beloved David Weiss. Brought him to the community. Super cool. So we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to get into the topic for today. And I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail or not, if it's even there, but it is the simulation theory, alien agenda, and mad science. So we're going to go into several topics today, one being the alien agenda that's been taking place since God knows when. Really, I mean, we can say since the fallen angels fell to this realm is really when it began. But, 1940s-ish, alien agenda that's taken place, and it's ramping up, dude. It's been ramping up here recently. And don't worry, we're going to get through our presentation. We're going to get through things, and then I will interact much more with the comment section and the live chat as well. First, I want to get through a few more things for the people who are going to be watching the episode later so we can run through the topics. Okay. Also, we'll be talking about mad science, how the modern science community today, they actually don't use the scientific method to come up with their conclusions. Would you believe that if I were to tell you that? Yeah, that's right. So the heliocentric model, globe model that you believe that you live on actually has not even been scientifically proven. They've attempted to scientifically prove it, but by using science, they came up with the wrong result. Not the result they wanted. They used interferometry, the most delicate instrumentation to detect motion, to find what? No spin of the Earth. To find what? No orbit of the Earth going around the sun. So what did they come up with? Well, it took a few years. They had to sit on it, but then old Einstein came along in 1905 after these tests took place in the 1800s, 1880s. Then Einstein came along and said, oh, special relativity will explain why we are really spinning and really moving around the sun, but you will never be able to measure that from Earth. You'll never be able to detect it, right? Relative motion, the theory of relativity. Also, the fact that we are in the center, that was also proven with their own science. See, they try to look out there amongst the cosmos and see the background radiation, and they say, oh, okay, well, it looks like we're in the center here. We're geocentric after all. And then science comes along and says, nope, let's be a little pseudoscientific here and throw around some theories and say, how about it's all expanding all together at such a rate where it's just going to appear that you're in the center of the universe. No matter where you are. So draw a bunch of dots on a balloon and blow it up, and that's your science. So wait. So we've actually taken actual scientific instrumentation to test where we are, whether we're heliocentric or geocentric, and the result says we're geocentric, and now you're going to take a Sharpie and draw dots all over a balloon and blow it up and say, nah. All right, what? I mean, what? All right, anyway. So then we're going to talk about simulation theory. Yeah, that we live in an intelligently designed reality, but science, as they've figured that out, now they have to gish gallop and juggle around and say, oh God, oh no, we're created. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, how about aliens? All right. Yeah. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Well, they can, because that's all they do is they make stuff up to try to say why the truth isn't the truth. I mean, come on. Come on. Anyway, so our first video, as we dip into the alien agenda, it's very important, especially for you guys who are having spiritual walks, and especially for those who have possibly had what's called sleep paralysis. All right. Spoiler alert. You ever been laying in your bed and all of a sudden you can't move? You can't scream. All you can do is kind of move your eyeballs around, and there's a impending doom in the room, a terror that you can't explain that you can cut with a knife, and it doesn't even feel like your own fear and terror. It feels like a manufactured fear that was brought there by demonic forces. Have you maybe seen figures during this as well? Maybe gray aliens, possibly. You ever been abducted? You ever had an abduction happen? Yeah, those stories where you thought the people were completely insane, but then you figure out later that they might actually have happened, and they may not be those outer space creatures that flew in from Jupiter. Come on, think about it. Good God. We're going to connect all those dots today, all right? Don't worry about it. It's all going to get connected. So let's get into our first video about the governmental alien agenda and how it may tie in to the beast system / Antichrist. But hey, you know, it's all up for interpretation, I would assume. But let's see how it goes.
Learned by the late Wernher von Braun in the years leading up to his death in 1977 that there were going to be a certain number of cards played on humanity, all leading to a culminating event. Now, everything Wernher von Braun warned us about has come true, except for what he called the final card that they were going to play on us, and it has everything to do with UFOs.
The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids.
This new one you're tracking, how big?
It's what we call a global killer. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
An asteroid some scientists call a city killer came closer to Earth than the moon this week. The scary thing is that scientists had no idea it was coming.
Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it.
Notice how they didn't have any real footage of the asteroid? Notice how it was a cartoon globe and a cartoon rock flying next to the cartoon globe. Notice how these deceptions all rely on the globe and the heliocentric model.
Asteroids against asteroids were going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. The way he said it to me, there was no doubt in my mind that he knew something that he was too afraid to talk about.
Just a few days ago, the Pentagon confirmed that a 2019 video of a UFO sighting is actually real. It was a UFO.
Was a real UFO, guys. Oh, no. Real UFOs. What are you
Can't fit in those
about?
jeans. Be careful with jeans.
Okay, so real UFOs, yada, yada, yada. Notice how all of this relies. Oh, it needs the heliocentric model. It needs the globe to exist, the asteroids. Oh, yeah. Did you see those big spheres that were laying on the ground, those pictures? People were finding those. Remember that the mysterious spheres, but somehow, some way, they looked like giant smoke bombs with the hole in it, and they smelled like fireworks. Yeah, they've been seen getting dropped from planes, dude. Yeah. Stealth planes would be flying over top and dropping these balls. Their balls dropped, and they were these big steel smoke bombs with fire and smoke coming out of the end to simulate an asteroid, dude. Werner von Braun, the king of rocketry. You know, in the last few years of his life, this wasn't the only thing that he exposed. Okay, he said, hey, the government's got a plan. They're coming up with this alien invasion, yada, yada, yada. We have since then found that NASA and other technologies have the electrostatic levitation laboratory. They have the electrostatic levitation technology, UFO technology. It's there. And it harnesses the electrostatic potential in the atmosphere and achieves both lift and propulsion. These things are unconventional propulsion systems, electrogravitics. They're out there. This is an obvious thing. Okay. Now, Werner von Braun warned of this. He whistleblowed in so many different ways, but he also put Psalm 19:1 on his tombstone, said, hey, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament, or the dome of the sky, speaks the work of his hands. You know, I would almost be confident to say that possibly, since Werner von Braun was brought over through paperclip, right around probably close to the time of Fishbowl. You know what? I bet you that Werner von Braun could have possibly been a part of Operation Fishbowl. The funny thing about Operation Fishbowl, they're shooting rockets at the firmament. Did you know that they named each one of those rockets after a fish? I wonder why. Why are you naming rockets after fish? They fly in the sky. Oh, maybe because they're going for the waters above? Yeah. So Werner von Braun also wrote a book in the 50s called The Mars Project, talking about colonization of Mars. Guess who his character's name was in the book who colonizes Mars? Elon Musk. Well, not Musk, but Elon. His name was Elon. So now we've got Elon, the brand new modern day Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun was chilling with NASA, chilling with Walt Disney. I seen that in the comment section. Walt Disney, animation. So what does animation and rockets have to do with each other? Well, I don't know. You ever seen NASA and their fakery bakery? And how many green screens and glorified fireworks and video effects that they use and animation? You know that NASA has more animators on their payroll than anything else. Look it up. NASA has more animators and computer scientists than anything else. It's all just a show. Okay, now to add to this very interesting topic, I got my buddy Moon Henry here, and he's got a video about this mothership and the possible full disclosure, even though I feel like it's pretty much already happened, but the full disclosure of aliens in 2025. Check this out.
It's the mothership they warned us about. This video is massively creepy for two reasons. It's not just a normal UFO video. The first reason, it could only be picked up on an infrared camera, meaning this could be all around us right now and we could not see it. And two, it's mad creepy because this UFO, whatever it is shooting out a whole bunch of other smaller ones right out of under it. Be right back. Back to that thing in a minute. Did y'all see this 1999 interview of an employee of Area 51 saying that we will not be able to know about these things until 2025? The more of this video you listen to, the crazier it'll get.
Tell me what's happening out there. And he said, well, there's a lot of things that are going on there that I won't be able to tell you until the year 2025. But we have things in the Nevada desert that would make George Lucas envy.
I'm sorry, what year is it right now? And all the pieces are coming together perfectly for what they call aliens. Now hear me out on this. Do you guys remember like last year when the Pentagon came out and they said that there was a mothership in our solar system? And do y'all also remember when they said that there were fleets of these things heading to us a few months ago and people did not even believe them? They said they're full of crap and nothing would happen? Yeah, well those crazy people were right. And the craziest part of this whole thing is what Stephen Greer said that he's going to release in a few days. And talking about protecting people that come forward.
The information they're going to give me as they come forward, I'm going to hand off to every celebrity and every media outlet and every influencer I know. It's got to be seen by several billion people within a few days. The reason for it is that this summer he came to my place in Washington. And he says, we don't want to risk our lives and our families' lives. And
what is he getting ready to drop by the end of January? And further, where are they going to say that these things are coming from? I encourage everyone to look very deep into who this guy really is. I'm telling you guys, this year is going to be like no year that we have ever even seen before. And oh, before I forget, y'all are going to need to know this. There is power in the name of Jesus. Just remember that. Why? You'll see.
You'll see, he left us hanging. Wait a minute. You can't just say, you'll see, and leave us hanging. That's a big deal. Wait a second. Are you guys in suspense? Oh no, dude. He says, one thing I want you guys to remember is that there's power in the name of Jesus. You'll see, and then he just disappears. But luckily, I'm here and I'll show you guys, I guess. Now, first and foremost, you guys, some of you, let's see, how many we got in here watching? I don't even know. But some of you have had sleep paralysis before. I know this for a fact because that's what happens when you lived in the darkness for some time and you've made a conscious effort to step into the light, change your ways, blah, blah, repent, yada, 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 follow God, seek Christ, make a change, coming out of the occult, maybe? Witchcraft? I don't know. Pest Optimus is here. What's up, my dude? What we need to know is that there is power in this name. I want to give you a real quick. Actually, you know what? Let's watch this video, then I'll give you my personal experience. Because this is the craziest, absolutely most insane alien abduction story I've ever heard in my life, hands down. And yeah, you'll see.
Bill's experience took place in Christmas, Florida, 1976. His abduction started out typically late at night, in bed. Earlier in the evening, he saw some anomalous lights through his living room window over a forest north of his house. He assumed it was a police helicopter searching for drug runners or something. Whatever it was, it agitated his dogs for several hours.
No!
Imagine recognizing chords instantly by ear, without having to touch your instrument, without thinking, just feeling.
Bill D. Bill D.
Spoiler alert, I'm a music producer too.
Was an experiencer that came to us. He was coming to my meetings and he had a story to tell. And one of my investigators and I took the time to go to his home, set up a VHS recorder, and videoed him for 2 hours. And get his testimony of what he'd been through down. Bill's experience took place in Christmas, Florida, 1976. His abduction started out typically late at night, in bed. Earlier in the evening, he saw some anomalous lights through his living room window over a forest north of his house. He assumed it was a police helicopter searching for drug runners or something. Whatever it was, it agitated his dogs for several hours thereafter. He eventually went to bed. He was lying in bed, kept wide awake by barking dogs. When paralysis set in, this is something we hear about the experiencers. First sensation they get is they start to feel this paralysis. He was unable to cry out. He could see nothing but a whitish gray, like a mist or fog, although he sensed someone or something was in his room. His wife didn't waken. The next thing he knew, he was being levitated above his bed. Then he had the sensation he was being suspended by what felt like a pole inserted into his rectum. By this time, he was alive with terror, but he couldn't scream. Here is where the story becomes very interesting. The following is an excerpt taken directly from the transcript of Mr. D's interview.
Listen to this.
I thought I was having a satanic experience. that the devil had gotten a hold of me and had shoved a pole up my rectum and was holding me up in the air. So helpless, I couldn't do anything. I said, Jesus, Jesus, help me. Or Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. When I did, there was a feeling or a sound or something that either my words I had thought or the words that I had tried to say or whatever had hurt whatever was holding me up in the air on this pole. And I felt like it was withdrawn, and I fell. I hit the bed because it was like I was thrown back in bed. I really can't tell, but when I did, my wife woke up and asked why I was jumping on the bed.
All right, so the rest is kind of slow, so I'll just summarize it for you guys. So you guys hear that. This is a alien abduction story. So this guy, he ends up going like, what? So he's working at MUFON at this time when he finds this story. He's working at MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, right? So then he goes to his colleagues and says, hey, I found this report, right? So deep in the files, it talks about how he stopped this abduction by using the name of Jesus, right? So why wasn't this, because this whole story was published by MUFON publicly somewhere. And he wondered why that part was left out and why it wasn't shouted from the rooftops that, hey, guess what? We have the cure for alien abductions. You just shout the name of Jesus and these demons have to flee, right? Well, he said their first response, the first response was, well, we didn't know what to make of it. So he thinks, okay, but their second response, that's what had him thinking. They said, well, we didn't want this to hurt our credibility in the realm. In the realm. Credibility. Cover up. He's like, oh, I smell cover up now. So now, what? How could it hurt your credibility in the realm? Think about this, guys. Well, first of all, it explains these things aren't space aliens from another planet far, far away. These things are from right here, right now. They're interdimensional beings. They're demons, yo, or the fallen angels, or even the Nephilim, or just disembodied spirits that can only interact with us in the in-between. However you put it, they're demonic, because guess what? The name of Jesus drives them away. I challenge you to do this. First of all, use your discernment. When you listen to these different stories, same with listening to near-death experience stories or alien abduction stories, use your discernment. But I'll tell you what, the most authentic feeling and sounding abduction stories that I've heard from people giving their testimony, guess where they happen every time? Right there in bed, dude. And guess what? The aliens didn't do. Walk through any doors, dude. All of a sudden, they're laying there in bed. There's nothing in the room. Then all of a sudden, paralysis sets in. They can't move. They can't scream. And these things are all of a sudden in the room at the foot of the bed. Now, does that sound like a physical alien from a star system far, far away? Just, hey, I'm going to land out in your yard, dude, and I'm going to come on inside. I'm going to come through your front door, walk up your stairs, right? And I'm going to twiddle your doorknob. I'm going to open it up because I'm a physical creature who came from a star system far, far away. So, I mean, I can't just appear here. So I'm going to walk in like this. I'm going to walk to your bed because I know where that's at. And I'm going to go up to your room. And I'm going to stand there and I'm going to look at you. And I'm going to stick this pole in your butthole. I'm going to lift you up off the bed. No, that's stuff that demons do, dude. Is just appear there. In the in-between. Find you in that state of consciousness where you're kind of outer body. You're about to go to dream world. And they stop you and say, hold on, before you go to dream world, let me molest you. Before you go to dream world, real quick, let me assault you with this pole in your rectum. That's demonic. And how many times have you heard alien abduction stories where someone got probed? And then you hear that word probed and you already know it's something going inserted. They're demons and they're delinquents. They're demons and they're deviant. That's not a probe to track you. It's a probe to assault you, dude. It's a pole in your... dude. That's demonic, bro. Now I'm going to tell you about my personal experiences. I'm sleeping or trying to sleep. All of a sudden, I can't move. I can't scream. I'm stuck to my bed, and demonic spirits were in my room. One of these, which I narrowed it down, come to find out it's a hellhound, but it looked like a hyena/wolf thing, flying around my bed so fast. I mean, dude, it was moving so quick around my bed. It was telepathically communicating with me. I could feel what it was saying to me. I could hear it in my mind. It was saying, look how fast I am. If you were to even attempt to try to get off this bed, I would tear you to shreds. That's what this hellhound was saying to me as it was coursing around my bed. Flop, 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 flop. This is after I'm leaving an old lifestyle and deciding to change my life for the better and follow Jesus Christ. Because I didn't believe in Jesus. And I was doing lucid dreaming. I was trying astral projection and things like that. I was getting into that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, the night that I fathomed, well, maybe Jesus is the way. Maybe the Son of God, the Messiah, the one who died for me, who came and showed the way and then died for me. Maybe he's the true way. Maybe it's not this occultic practice. Maybe it's not this astral projection and lucid dreaming stuff. Maybe I need to glorify the Creator in things. Maybe this is true. The moment that I decided that was the moment that these demonic spirits started attacking me. And the moment, because I was thinking, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. The moment I was able to say Jesus, they disappeared. Now, mind you, I knew nothing about sleep paralysis at this time. I had no clue what that was, but consecutive nights in a row, they did this. And they fled at the name of Jesus Christ. That's why I believe Jesus. That's why it doesn't matter. You know, I know in this truth community, there's a lot of anti-Jesus people. There's a lot of people who say Jesus never existed or Lucifer is really Jesus and all this other stuff. The reason that I don't fall for that, which maybe I would if I didn't have this experience. But the thing is I believe in Jesus because of these experiences mainly is why no one could ever sway me left or right. You know, not only the fact that I pray and prayers are answered through the name of Jesus, but casting demons out and just saying his name and they disappearing, bro, I'm telling you. And there's so many people who have come to him through that. And there's people who get sleep paralysis and they have these experiences and they go to doctors and get medicated and they end up, well, unaliving themselves because they can't figure it out. But it was a spiritual battle all along. There's people who have alien abduction situations happen to them time and time again, and they end up harming themselves. And it was a spiritual battle all along that they tried to fight in the flesh. So, of course, you're not going to get any answers by thinking they're space aliens. So that's another big reason why the heliocentric globe model nonsense is pollution, and it's very dangerous. Right? So, guys, this next one, okay? This next one will also just confirm what I'm saying. And if we can get a shout out, man, of everybody in the chat, YouTube and TikTok alike, you know, which one of y'all in here have had that happen to you? You know, how many viewers do we have right now? How many of you guys have had quote unquote sleep paralysis? You know, I've run into several people who have, and they haven't known what to make of it. But I'll tell you this much. Consider yourself special. Because these demonic spirits that are, they're basically deployed to terrorize people at night who are on the fence of becoming soldiers for Christ. So consider yourself very special, but don't not consider yourself special if it hasn't happened, okay? But all I'm saying is they would not attack you if you weren't a major threat to the darkness and a major asset to the darkness by remaining there. You see what I'm saying? They don't have to attack people who are not a threat. So know that you're powerful through Christ. Know that you're special. You're here for a reason. And know where this comes from. And if you know anybody and just need this one little clip to share, or share this with them, or just tell them about this, let them know where this stuff comes from. If you know someone who's had an alien abduction story, let them know the truth behind it. Let them know God's true biblical creation. Let them know biblical cosmology. Let them know, hey, these are not physical aliens from other planets. These are right here, right now, spiritual things that are happening everywhere. Let them know. Monsters Inc., Damien said, yeah, dude, holy cow, you're so right, man. It was a cartoon explanation of like what's going on. All right, next video. So check this out. Oh, little chicken commercial real quick. All right.
I was in an apartment in Oklahoma, going to university in this town that I will not mention. One day I was in the library of my school, rummaging through the books of the huge library. It's like 3 floors. And I came across this book and the title was How to Do an Out-of-Body Experience. I thought that was quite intriguing. You know, here I was, a 19-year-old at the time. And so I picked it up and checked it out, and I began reading the book. It discussed and talked about how you actually make your body meditate, and then how you can actually lift your spirit up out of your body. I thought that was kind of foolishness, you know. And so I decided, you know, I'll see what happens, and I'll actually try it. So after trying it for about a month, it finally worked one night. And I was laying in bed. I did the meditation like the book told me to do. And I'm laying there still, and it's dark. It's probably 11:30 at night. And as I do the meditation practice, my whole body starts to tingle from head to toe. I'm tingling, and suddenly I feel my shoulders being pulled up, and then I felt both of my knees being pulled up out of my body. And it really scared me, because it was, you know, was I leaving my body? What was going on? And so right then, when my head was up, I actually opened my eyes, and my head was laying on the pillow, but my spirit was out of my body, looking up. And what I saw scared me to death. I literally was scared to death. I saw 4 creatures. They were probably, I'd say 3.5 feet tall each. They were gray. They had big heads, large eyes. They had different colored sweaters, which I thought was strange. And I could not move. I could not scream. I wanted to scream out, help me. Nothing. So going back to my history of childhood and young adulthood, I became a believer in Jesus Christ. And so I called out in my mind, in the name of Jesus, let me go. And as soon as I did that, boom, all 4 creatures vanished. They were gone. And then I could move. I was free. And scared me to death. I ended up going to a prayer group the next week. They prayed over me to be delivered of what had just occurred to me. And it has never happened to me again. And, you know, this was back in 1989, so. But I find that intriguing that if anybody is out there is being abducted by these so-called aliens, they are not aliens. It's a demonic realm. They are demons. And you can use the power of the word, the name of Jesus Christ. The Bible says that every demon must flee, and they're scared to death, and they flee in the name of Jesus Christ. They're terrified of the name because of such power that is in the name of Jesus Christ. So if you're being victimized and terrorized by these demons, not aliens, they're demons, you just even think in the name of Jesus Christ, let me go, and they will let you go. But accept Jesus Christ into your heart as your personal Savior. We are truly fighting a spiritual battle in this world, and there are forces that we cannot see. However, your prayers and your tongue has power in the Word of God. So, do your research and read about Jesus Christ and Him being the Son of God.
All right, TikTok is trying to... All right, we should be good. All right, so you guys see that. He wasn't abducted by it. Those things showed up. The aliens showed up because he was practicing outer body experiences. So he was trying to purposefully come out of his body, which is, I believe, against the rules here. I mean, let's think about it. Isn't that kind of cheating and going against the rules? Aren't we supposed to just have faith? We don't have to leave our bodies and things like that. We don't have to do all that stuff. And in doing so, it opens doors for demonic attacks. And he said the name of Jesus and they flee. Okay. So all of these things are happening and people don't know what to make of it. They don't know what is going on. Okay. So I don't know if you guys know a guy named Paul. He's got a channel here on YouTube called Understanding Conspiracy. He wrote a book called The Nephilim Look Like Clowns. All right. Super insane title, right? But the guy has a story just like mine in the fact of dabbling in the occult, dabbling in magic and things right before finding Christ. And then the attacks come. The demonic sleep paralysis attacks. Also, stories of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. There have been people hunting Sasquatch, looking through the woods for this creature. There's been multiple accounts where people have seen the Sasquatch, and it has telepathically communicated with them, just like these accounts, and they've had paralysis. And that's what is so wild, is these demonic spirits somehow know how to stop your body from moving. And maybe that's where the term scared stiff came from, because there is actually a paralyzing fear, because it doesn't feel like your own fear. It feels like a manufactured version of fear. It's a type of fear, but it's not your own. It's brought there, it's put on you, and it's intensified for the sole purpose of lowering your vibration, I suppose. Now, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. I told you the 3 topics were going to be. And this is finally, we're at the simulation topic. All right. Now, we're going to get into this. Simulation theory. It's a big theory. A lot of people talk about it and think about it. Now, I do want to bring this up real quick before we get started. Now, when saying simulation, see, that may put a sour taste in people's mouths. They may not quite know what to make of that word. But I will say this. If you've ever listened to near-death experience stories and people who have brain function has ended, heart has stopped, they've been technically deceased for some minutes, hours at some point, and they come back. They all say the same thing. The moment that they're accused of, oh, you were just dreaming, or, oh, no, you were having a DMT release experience and it was going through, your body, and that's what happened. Well, they all say the same thing. They say, no, where I was more real than this. This is actually the dream. Truth Repeater, what's up, my man? They said, this is the dream compared to where I just was. So simulation theory, it's got some merit. Plus, in science, it has been scientifically proven, actually, that we do live in an intelligently designed universe. Not only so, but we live in an intelligently designed reality that is intelligence itself. So even the reality we experience is intelligent. We'll get to that. But real quick, let's play this video real fast by a guy named VOR, Voice of Reason, who has great Christian apologetics content. I do not agree with him on everything, obviously. He's still a glober. But he does great debunking evolution. He does great debunking the Big Bang and debunking the scientists who try to say that simulation theory is a bunch of hogwash. Anyway, let's just listen to what they got to say, and then we'll touch on that and expand on it just a little bit more. Let's go.
Who think we're living in a simulation?
When people see the movie The Matrix, people wonder, is it really just a movie?
I wondered that.
Or maybe we are puppets. We are dancing in a world where somebody's pulling the strings and somebody hit the play button and then the universe unfolds.
Yes.
And then you push the stop button and everything stops.
Maybe.
Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Well, I think not. The theory of the Matrix is a theory without quantum mechanics.
Why?
It's a Newtonian type theory.
No.
So the universe is not Newtonian.
True.
The universe is quantum mechanical.
Yes.
And therefore, I think that we do not live in a matrix.
Same interview.
The digital world is deterministic.
Yes.
The digital world is Newtonian. But a quantum computer exists in a world of quantum mechanics.
Yes.
It exists in a world of infinite states. And these already exist. We have quantum computers.
We're not in a simulation because computers operate on Newtonian physics and our universe operates on quantum physics. But we also create quantum computers that don't operate on Newtonian physics. They operate on quantum physics. So what's the argument against the simulation again, Michio? It's not a scientific argument against the simulation. It's a philosophical argument against the simulation. If we're in a simulation, there is a creator. Hard stop. Rule number 1 of Science Club. There is no God.
The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be.
And Michio Kaku and the other materialists don't want to be a puppet dangling on the strings of this creator.
So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay?
So it doesn't matter that science and philosophy and logic are in favor of this idea.
You notice he said, he mocked Jesus right there. He said the stars died so we could be here today. You know all those stardust people? Yeah.
They don't want it because it means that something made us. Something made this universe.
We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game.
Right.
Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans. So now that world evolves and they develop computing power.
Right.
And they say, we want to play video games.
So now we're going to make a world.
So then they make a world and they have sufficient computing power that they invent to create a whole universe within their computers.
Okay.
And then
They make a world.
And then they make a world all the way on down.
Right.
It could be hundreds, thousands, billions. So now close your eyes, throw a dart. Which of these universes are you going to land in? The first one that's real or the gazillion that are not? That convinced me. And I don't want to be convinced. I didn't like it. And I was just begging for somebody to give me an argument that was cogent enough to undermine that entire reasoning. So here is what convinced me we're not in a simulation. What do all those simulated universes have in common? They have the power to simulate themselves.
That's what I'm saying. They're simulations.
No, they have the power to simulate themselves.
Right. Okay. Yes.
That's what they all have in common.
They make a simulation.
They have that power.
Right. Exactly.
To simulate themselves exactly. Do we have that power now?
No, we don't.
No, we don't. So either we are the real one,
right,
or we're the one in the chain that's still evolving to try to then make a simulation within their own world.
Right.
So the odds of us being a simulation goes from a gazillion to 1.
It flips.
It flips. 50-50.
Wow.
And I'm good with that. That changes my life completely.
Yeah.
Okay?
I got you, Neil. Original universe, unlimited simulated universes, or one base reality where the programmer is, where God is, one simulation that we are in. We're made in the image of God, So we are doing something like what he did. We're making a simulation of his simulation. But Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't want that argument. Neil deGrasse Tyson's issue with the simulation is the same as Michio Kaku's. If we're in a simulation, something built this.
So, are you saying we are all just, there's some entity that programmed the universe and we're just expressions of their code? That convinced me. And I don't want to be convinced. I didn't like it. And I was just begging for somebody to give me an argument to undermine that entire reasoning.
So it doesn't matter.
That's exactly how science goes, though. He said, someone showed me that. I understood it, but I didn't like it. And I was looking for someone to please give me an argument as to why it's not true. But if you guys had seen that seminar, it was actually a scientist that said they had found a specific code in the human DNA, the most advanced code that's ever been found. More than a computer code, but like a computer code, but it proved that the human DNA was intelligently designed. It was mathematically intelligently designed in code, right? And Neil deGrasse Tyson said, no. Although, so that's why you have in the mainstream world, you have people saying, simulation. We live in a simulation that was created by higher beings, that da-da-da. It's basically a way for modern science to say, okay, we acknowledge that we live in a created place, but let's not acknowledge God of the Bible because they're disgusted by it. It's kind of like with, what's his name that's in the wheelchair, Stephen Hawking. Said, it's a terrifying concept to think we have a special and unique place in the universe. Because guess what? All science points to that. All science points to we are in a very special, geocentric, unique position in the universe, that we were created, that we are here for a purpose, and that we have written code within our DNA. Not just that, but also numerically, God has signed his name in all the nucleotides in our DNA, repeating over and over and over, Yahweh, 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 or YHVH, 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 over and over again. Our nucleotide sequence is God's name over and over. Look, not only is it proven through science that we were created, but it's proven through science that we're created by the biblical God. I mean, and that's their big upset. That's their big upset. Oh, sorry. Anyway, that's all we really needed for that video, and we'll go on a little bit longer. But I do want to bring up that Neil deGrasse Tyson does this. You know that in the double slit experiment, even Neil deGrasse Tyson introduced a false independent variable that didn't exist within the scientific experiment, and this is quantum physics. See, this is why when that documentary came out about quantum physics called What the Bleep Do We Know? It was basically the mainstream's introduction to quantum physics to us, to the normal pop culture people. They came up with a documentary. It blew up. It got super huge. And a lot of atheists actually started thinking a little bit more open-minded. And really, I believe that documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, created probably a lot of occultists too, people who get into spirituality, but they won't quite venture into believing, biblical truths and things like that. And that's, that's whatever. You're on your journey, and a lot of people usually find Jesus by the time they get through. Like somebody said in the chat earlier, they're like, the more you dig, you're always going to end up at God of the Bible. It's usually where you end up. If you keep on going, keep on digging, keep on looking, keep on finding things. So the double slit experiment, see, this was a big thing too. But after What the Bleep Do We Know, quantum physics, and the reason why quantum physics is gatekept in such a way that it is because all the bits and pieces of quantum physics points to intelligent design at its core. I mean, it shows just the sequences of numbers, the particle physics, the wave-particle duality, the observer effect, the way that everything truly is frequency, energy, and vibration, and how matter itself is really just vibration playing the part of of solid matter and things like that. So if you guys don't know what the double slit experiment is, it basically proved that our reality is subjective to a certain point. So I'll play this real quick and you'll get kind of an idea of what the double slit experiment is, and then we can discuss it.
Like simulation. You may know about or remember one of the most famous experiments in the history of physics, the experiment of Thomas Young, the double slit experiment. It was a real coup in physics and led many scientists into the study of quantum mechanics. If you throw solid balls at a shield with a slit cut into it, a single diffuse strip designating the strike points will appear on the screen behind the shield. If there are two slits in the shield, then there will be two strips. But how will waves behave if aimed at the shield? They will pass through the slot and spread out. The greatest impact of the waves will be in the line of the slit, as in the case with the balls. But if you add a second slit, everything changes. A number of alternating interference strips will appear on the projection screen. And when we shine light on the two strips, this is exactly what happens. And this is how Mr. Young proved the wave theory of light. If light were corpuscular, like a particle, instead of wave-like, it would behave like the balls, and the screen would show two strips of light corresponding to the two slits. That didn't happen. Later, it turned out that electrons and protons behave exactly the same way, showing that they also seem to exist as waves and not as points. There was one assumption that perhaps light and the others were particles and that somehow the particles bumped into each other and flew apart. So, to test this, physicists decided to shoot electrons at the target one by one, single file. And what do you think happened? The strangest thing imaginable. The interference pattern still appeared on the screen. It seemed that the single electrons somehow divided into two waves, passed through both slits, then interfered with themselves. Impossible. So physicists tried to find out through which gap the electron actually passes. They installed measuring instruments to check this. Another seeming impossibility occurred. The electrons stopped behaving like waves and began acting like particles, and left a trace on the screen of two distinct strips with no interference. They had to admit something completely mind-blowing, that the fact of our observation or measurement destroyed the wave function of the photons, causing them to become like points, corpuscular. The electron under the influence of observation behaved like a particle, flying through one slit and not through two. Interpretations. Well, it certainly looks like the work of a game engine, doesn't it? This might make you think that our world is run like a game on a computer. The computer's power is not enough to calculate the motion of each and every particle, so it uses a simplified model and applies precise calculations only if an observer needs to look at the particle, so as not to break the illusion of the reality.
Okay, so to recap on that, I know it went by really fast and sometimes it's, okay, so basically what that experiment showed. Fish Monkey, I see you, by the way. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you, brother. All right, so, and I'll get to 33 Buds. I'll get to your question here in a minute. We're almost wrapping up. We've got one other video to show, and then we'll get into interaction, comments, and things like that. So, real quick, what that experiment showed, though, was reality itself is subjective. So that's the observer effect is what that's called. So as they were shooting particles through these two slits, they had an interference pattern going on. So when they set up instrumentation to view where these particles split and interfered with each other and bounced off each other, they started acting differently, right? They didn't act as wave anymore. They acted as particles. So we live in a vibration. We live in everything's waves. Everything's waves, everything's vibration. Sound and light, basically, is reality itself. But when you try to observe reality itself at the smallest level, now it begins to behave as solid objects. So not only do we live in an intelligently designed universe, but the design itself is intelligent. And it masquerades as reality when in reality, I know this is paradox, it's not. In reality, it's a subjective world that exists through interaction itself. So if that's the case and reality is subjective rather than objective, well, then that means that believing is seeing rather than seeing is believing, which then means that we operate off of an operating system that can be programmed or deprogrammed and manipulated to where we will actually see and experience what we believe we will see and experience. And there is an objective layer beneath subjectivity that we all interact with on the surface. But there's a surface subjectivity that is molding at all times. It's shifting with our perceptions. It's shifting with our perspectives. And it's moving and changing. And that's why the truth, right, the objective truth is unseen by so many people. That there's a force, a change in programming. We work off these operating systems. We're these little beings of technology that was created by God, and we can perceive things and manifest things to be reality, right? Now, this is all biblical stuff here. You know, with faith the size of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. You know, our prayer is being answered, sowing and reaping even. You know, the world likes to disclude God and uninclude him and kick him out of the equation by saying, oh, that's just karma. That's just the law of attraction. That's just all these different labels that exclude the source of all of this, the engine, the God that runs the whole simulation, if you will, the loving God, that God is love. So you ever wonder why it is that globers say that they saw curvature from an airplane? Or you wonder why people insist that they can see curvature, or insist that they can see things that we know are not there, that we experience one way and they experience another. Look at the political divide. You know, you wonder about people is how can they not see this? How can they not logically think? Well, maybe they can't because that's the manifest of their reality via operating system. Maybe that's who they are because of what they believe and what they perceive. Therefore, they see it and experience it. So think of the quantum level isn't just surface and matter, but it definitely makes you think about that phrase. It doesn't matter. So why is matter physical objects, but then it's also what makes a difference to us or what doesn't? What affects us and what doesn't? What is real and what isn't? What actually manipulates our emotions and what doesn't? It doesn't matter. It means it doesn't materialize because you haven't allowed it via observation, via perception, via focus. So your focus becomes your reality. What you choose to see and believe is what you will feel. What you know is true to you. What you believe, what you have faith in is true. Why? Because you've made that your reality. Okay. So if you think of it in that way, if reality itself is subjective and we can truly create our own reality through belief and faith, well, then the logical conclusion is to believe in God, for one, but two is to be positive and to focus on the good things and always say positive affirmations about yourself and others. Always give people the benefit of the doubt until they corner you and not allow you to do that anymore by infringing on your reality and making it objective. Let objective evil be objective evil, and then let good fruits be good fruits. But let me put it this way. What if Satan knows this reality, knows that God created this intelligent reality, this intelligent universe that's intelligently designed and intelligence itself because it has a mind? What if Satan knows that, and he knows that the way to destroy humanity is to divide them and create cultures, subcultures, ideologies, and conflicting belief systems, multiple religions, thousands of different styles, beliefs, and all this stuff, knowing that it would cause division because the more that those things were practiced, the more they became reality. So truthfully, in the end, everyone is equally right and equally wrong when you break it down to the one objective truth. I believe the one objective truth is that God is love. His word is true. He's never changing. And he created this place. I think everything else is almost up for interpretation. I think everything else we can make real or unreal, depending on whether or not we focus on it and obsess on it. I think your enemy's your enemy if you make them that. But particle physics themselves prove that reality is subjective. It happens through your perception, your observation. You observe, therefore you see. So think about this. All these fights that are going on, all these disagreements, all these different perspectives. The reason people can stand on their position so strongly is because that is what they see. They can't see anything else. Because there truly are people who believe, and I'm just using this as an example, that they see curvature from an airplane. When we know that that's not the case, but they know they see it, right? But do they? Now, speaking of objective reality and science as a cult, check out these experiments that actually prove not only are we in the biblical depiction of Earth, the creation, but we're not moving either. So check this out.
The sun. Yes, there was several experiments in the 1800s. Dominique Arago, Armand Fuseau, Augustin Fresnel, but one of the most famous was the Michelson-Morley experiment in 1887. No. Tell us about that. Well, they used light beams to measure whether the Earth was moving, and they found that there was no movement. The Earth has to be moving 30 kilometers per second to complete its annual revolution. And they found out that it wasn't moving in a very precise. Michelson could have calculated it to 1/100th of what he got in his experiment. That's how sensitive his instruments were.
What did the experiment involve in terms of apparatus, so we can get a concrete understanding of
well,
what they found?
If the Earth is moving around the sun and we shoot that light beam in the direction that the Earth is moving, okay, and then we shoot another light beam perpendicular to that, well, the one that's in the direction of the Earth's movement should be impeded in some way if it's moving through space, whereas this one that's going perpendicular would not be impeded.
Why not?
Because it's not going through space. It's just going north and south.
Okay.
Okay? And what they found, they expected to have a 30-kilometer difference between these two light beams. There was no difference. So the natural interpretation, and even Einstein admits this, Mach admits this, Born admits this, the natural interpretation is that the Earth isn't moving. So how do we get out of that? Well, you invent special relativity. And now you say, well, the reason that light beam wasn't affected when it went toward the motion of the Earth is because the apparatus shortened.
Huh?
Yeah, Michelson's apparatus shortened as it was going with the Earth in its orbit around the sun.
No, wait, you're telling me that the contraction of mass was invented to explain away the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment?
Yes, and that's what my book will tell you, and it's been admitted by all the scientists.
Well, isn't there any experimental confirmation that as you approach the speed of light, there's a contraction effect? The impression is that there's all kinds of experimental confirmation.
That was invented. There's no proof to it.
Really?
Yes, all the physicists will tell you there's no proof.
Not that I'm surprised, you understand.
Yeah.
I know what the scientific community is capable of in terms of mass deception. Evolution is a mass deception.
So you guys hear that? They've done tests. He's talking about the Michelson-Morley experiment where they did interferometry. So the thing they came up with was special relativity. Oh, the apparatus must have contracted, and we must have gotten, and they come up with all kinds of things, that, that physically, like the laws of physics as described in Einstein's theory of relativity and the motion of our planets and the gravitational, strength to hold it all in our solar system and hold galaxies together and all of this. Did you know that actually doesn't work either? And that's why they had to come up with dark matter. They said, oh, there's missing mass. There's not actually enough mass to hold our galaxy together and all these galaxies together in this giant unit. There's not enough. There's not enough mass. If it's a vacuum, this makes no sense. But they said, okay, so we'll say that there's dark matter. There's missing mass, so we'll say dark matter. dark matter in a vacuum, you know that a vacuum is void of any particle. So if it can't have particles, it can't have mass. You can't just say dark matter and that's your answer. How about what you thought isn't working, so let's reevaluate the model? They don't do that though. When they do scientific, they use scientific methods to try and prove their model. Their results go against their model. So instead of reevaluating the model itself, they throw a new theory in. That's your scientific theory. You know, people's like, it's not a theory, it's a scientific theory. You know, when I hear the word scientific theory, I know that some experiment has been done to contradict modern science. So then now scientific theory, slam dunk. They throw in a new theory to try to explain away their null result. Right?
But I wasn't aware that they don't really have any even purported scientific confirmation in terms of physical measurement.
No, nobody
contraction
measured,
effect.
Nobody measured a contraction, but they put it into a mathematical formula called the Lorentz transform, and it's probably the most famous equation used in physics today.
Does anyone expressly admit that, hey, we had to come up with this contraction effect because otherwise we're stuck with a motionless
Yes,
Earth?
the very guy who invented it.
Tell me what he admitted.
Heinrich Lorentz says, I don't have any other explanation to this experiment of Michael Somorley unless I contract the apparatus. Otherwise, we're going to have to believe the Earth is standing still in space.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can you give an approximate page reference for me to your book? I want to go back and read that right away.
Guys, it's kind of like the same concept of detecting motion. Okay, so I mean, interferometry is much more delicate than anything else that the Foucault's pendulum or even a gyroscope. But you know, that's way more delicate. That was done. Earth's not in motion. But think of this as well. You know, they say Foucault's pendulum is a proof that the Earth is moving. Well, they don't ever claim it's a proof. Science has been pretty careful there. You know, modern science does say nothing of that they talk about is proven, which, I mean, that's a safe place to go. But there are things that have been proven, like the Earth not moving, but they come up with their Gish Gallop, right? They trot around and try to find an explanation. Well, here's what's funny though, is interferometry is much more strong than Foucault's pendulum. So is a gyroscope. You know, a gyroscope measurement. A gyroscope, the rotor is supposed to maintain its rigidity in space once it's spun, especially a three-axis gimbaled gyroscope. That means that it'll maintain its rigidity, and you can now move and rotate in every direction possible, and that rotor will maintain its rigidity in space relative to the plane, inertial plane, that it began in. So you can spin a three-axis gimbal gyroscope as hard as you can, and that rotor will maintain its rigidity in space. Now, if the Earth is spinning, wobbling, moving, and going all these different directions in the so-called universe, well, then you have a few different vectors, a few different speeds, but you are moving in incredible ways. Yet, a three-axis gimbal gyroscope will maintain its same inertial plane from the moment you spin it to the moment it stops. That is much more delicate than Foucault's pendulum as well, yet we get no results there, but then they say Foucault's pendulum is evidence that the Earth is moving? Come on, guys. I say that, hey, there's a couple of factors that we didn't put this apparatus in a Faraday cage to isolate what? The electrostatic gradient in the atmosphere or the magnetic field of Earth. But you have this big, large spinning thing, right? Or swinging plumb bob, giant plumb bob, Foucault's pendulum. And you haven't been able to isolate either the magnetic field or the electrostatic gradient in the atmosphere. Could those things possibly have an effect on it? If the answer is yes, well, then that's an inconclusive experiment, especially when something more delicate like a gyroscope with 3 axes maintaining its inertial plane for hours and hours and hours on end when this place is supposed to be moving constantly.
I'll send you an email. I'll show you where it is.
Another objection. If everything is moving, in other words, all the stars in the universe are moving, how could we possibly determine if we are the center of this moving universe?
Over the past decade or so, we have seen out to the very limits of the observable cosmos. We've mapped its largest structure, the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe according to the standard Big Bang model of cosmology. What we have discovered is shocking.
On the very largest scales, we see a pattern of really big hot and cold spots which line up around a special axis, which has been dubbed the axis of evil. And it's quite puzzling. Why is there a special direction in space?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you asked that, because in 2009 they set up a probe called the Planck probe. It just came back with the results in 2013 in March. I don't know if you heard about it or not.
No.
The European Space Agency set it up in cooperation with NASA. This was the 3rd attempt that they had to nullify the data that they were finding in the cosmic microwave background radiation that permeates the whole universe, that the Earth was in the center of the universe. The first one they set up was in 1990 called the COBE probe. It came back, showed the Earth was in the center. The WMAP was the second one in 2001, came back with the same data. And what they tried to do was say that this was all an error. It was some kind of misreading, or it was there was contamination in the apparatus or the sky or whatever. So they sent up a 3rd probe in 2009, just came back in 2013. Guess what? Same exact results. Same exact results. And what were the interpretations? Well, the Earth has to be in the center of the universe. And we have somebody quoted in our book, Lawrence Krauss of the Arizona State University, who says, yeah, this means we're in the center of the universe.
Let's pick up on that point a bit. You mentioned that the background radiation, microwave radiation.
Now remember, they proved that we're in the center as well. What was the Gish Gallop there? What was the big hero that had to swoop in and save the day? Well, it was expansion theory. So when they do these tests and prove, oh, by the way, this is off of their own paradigm. And this is why I believe God is so awesome, because obviously we're biblical cosmologists. We don't believe in the Big Bang and the expansion of the universe. You know, we don't believe that just because a light in the sky appears to be somewhere different in the color spectrum, either far on the blue side or far on the red side, we don't claim to say that, oh, that must mean that it's moving toward us, or that must mean it's moving away from us because it's blue shifted or red shifted. That's just the color it is. Okay, so they have their own little paradigm. They have their own belief system that what their observations that they see, what it means. So for instance, a black hole, okay? This is how modern science works. This is how theoretical astrophysics works. So they have a telescope and they look up, okay? What do they see? Well, they see a black circle, okay? It could be a disk, it could be a sphere, they don't know. But it's a black circle that interferes with the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning when it passes over, it's moving independently from anything else. When it passes over a star or God forbid, the sun or moon, it makes it disappear. It interferes with the electromagnetic. It disappears light. Okay, that's what it does. And it may even have some light around it, but it's just a black circle. Now, that's what they see. All right. Now they're going to run with that. And here's where the theoretical astrophysics comes in. Now they say, okay, that's a black hole. And you know what? We're going to say that the gravity in the center of that black hole is so immense that not even light can escape it. And if you were to go near a black hole, it would start ripping you to shreds by particle from your feet to your head. And just because light can't escape it, there would be a projection, a holographic image of you existing on the event horizon for years and years to come. Because no, That's what theoretical physics look like. They see literally a black disk that when it passes over light, you can't see the light anymore. And then now they have this whole idea of the intensity of gravity, of what it does, what it would do if you got near it, and all this mumbo jumbo. Did you know that they had theoretical concepts of a black hole before they ever even captured one on camera? You know what I think? I think that's a dark celestial body, one of the dark celestial disks that are spoke of in Enoch and even talked about in modern science today. There's dark stars, there's dark celestial bodies, there's these different things that they can't explain, but basically it just interferes with the light when it passes over it, and you cannot see it any longer. So that's what I think could possibly be in the lunar and solar nodes that pass over our sun and moon and cause eclipses, is this same dark celestial disk, if you will. They call them black holes. Maybe there are some that are closer, like the sun and moon, that possibly are in their path and will eclipse the sun and moon. Then maybe there are some that are further out that will sometimes pass over stars that we see. Maybe there's different size ones, just like there are our traditional wandering stars and sun and moon. That's my take.
In the universe, supply data from which it became apparent that the Earth was in fact at the center of a moving universe. Explain why that is so. Why do these data confirm that?
Okay. Well, the Big Bang Theory predicts that there was an explosion 13.7 billion years ago. Okay? So if there was an explosion, then that means the explosion had to come out equal on all sides of the sphere. It had to be.
Okay, real quick, the point I was going to get to earlier was even their own science debunks them. So that's their theory, the explosion, the Big Bang, and that everything's expanding in all directions. So even their own ideology, their own belief paradigm, their own scientific theory of the universe, even in their own framework, as they're doing experiments, still it narrows down to biblical truth. So although we don't believe that it's expanding, we don't believe all this other stuff, even when they go and do experiments in their own understanding, see, God still finds a way to glorify himself and his creation through their own experimentation. That is the coolest thing ever.
Be what they call homogeneous. Okay? And that's naturally, sure. You know, you shake that thing up and you can't see one place from another place. It's all homogenized. And that's what they needed for this Big Bang universe. What they found when they sent these 3 probes up, yeah, some of it was homogeneous, but it's like having a bowl full of Jell-O with 2 swords going through the middle of the Jell-O.
What are the swords?
The swords are the orientation of the cosmic microwave background radiation throughout the universe.
What do you mean by the orientation?
Okay, there's hot and cold spots they found. It's not homogeneous. There's hot and cold spots in this microwave background radiation, and if you align all these cold spots, it forms an X through the whole universe.
Unbelievable.
And guess what's in the middle?
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
This is what the data show.
This is what the data shows.
Okay, come on now. What mainstream publication recognizes
The
this?
University of Michigan, Dragon Hutterer, Craig Copey, Glenn Starkman. These are all the guys who have done all the work on this microwave radiation. They write it in their papers. They wrote one in 2004, 2008, 2010, and 2012, and they're writing another one on the Planck probe.
So you're saying these space probes were designed to explain away the X represented by the hot and cold
spots. They wanted
spots.
to make sure it wasn't an accident.
Okay, so there were how many probes in total?
3 in 20 years.
And you're saying that all 3 confirmed what then?
That the Earth is in the center of the universe.
On the basis of the hot and cold spots?
Yes.
Whose alignment represents an X.
An X.
And at the center of the X is the Earth.
Right, and they call that X the axis of evil. That was coined.
Scientists call that the axis of evil.
Called it the axis of evil. That was coined in 2004 when Bush went into Iraq. Remember, he called them the axis of evil? So this cosmologist just picked it up and said, yeah, well, here's the axis of evil right here in the universe.
So, in other words, they're enraged by the finding.
Oh, yeah.
Because it upsets their worldview, which has to displace the Earth's special position in the universe, which fits in rather nicely with a divinely created universe,
right?
Made for man.
All of cosmology is based.
So their own science debunks them. Okay, and earlier 33 Buds of Consciousness, you said you were asking about VOR, Voice of Reason. A lot of you guys know who that is, those of you in the Christian community, just because he, does good content, and he would cover something like this even. Maybe. I don't know if he would even want to be a geocentrist. I don't know, but he's really against flat earth, man. I didn't think he was. I thought he just wasn't quite there yet, and I thought he was, on his own journey. I knew that he had content that relied on the heliocentric model, because he covers content on the fully formed galaxies at the edge of the universe, so to speak. So even those, all galaxies are, and when we take telescopes and look, are these swirls of light in the sky, okay? And they've noticed that there are, in their paradigm, right, in their framework of belief, at the edge of the universe, as they're looking out in telescopes, they find fully formed galaxies, which disprove the Big Bang Theory. So he's got this content on that, which has done great. He's put out that content. It's soared, and it's really woke a lot of people up to God, and spreading the word that way. So I think he's so knowledgeable on like space, and has already made content that relies on that framework, that he doesn't want to start at zero again with his knowledge. There are people who they're so educated, they're so smart, they're so educated that it's almost like pride gets in the way of even seeing another perspective. And I always looked at it that way. I'm like, well, I guess he won't, see flat earth because he's too invested in the content he's already made and too invested in his own knowledge, But then he made a 2-hour or so stream on why he believes flat earth is anti-Semitic at its core. And sadly, I'm going to have to make a reaction to that entire video. I didn't do it today because I want to watch it one more time and get my timestamps together on it. But VOR, if you see this or you're watching, I'm going to have to make a response to that video, man. It definitely was a very lazy, just a very lazy take, man. I know that there's no way that you could possibly get into flat earth. I know that there's no way you could intellectually, honestly, hear someone out. I know there's no way that you would actually go out and perform your own tests on the earth's surface. I believe your knowledge, your human wisdom prevents you from that. But to make a whole stream on why flat earthers are anti-Semitic, that's a bit out there, man. It's a bit out there, to be honest. Especially since you got a lot of flat earthers that follow your channel, that like your other content, that respect and love you. Being in the flat earth community, did you know that you have actually been a huge topic? Did you know that there have been so many people that have said such wonderful things about you, and everyone's like, man, have you seen VOR? He's so good. We watch you. We watch your streams. We're big fans of you, man, and big followers who are always discussing you, like in, the appropriate private settings. We're talking about, man, if only he came to the truth of biblical cosmology, and think of how great he would articulate it and how great he would spread that truth. And we really respect and love you, man. So that's a tough one that you've done that. I still love you, man. I understand that that's one of those things that I guess you can get completely deceived by and misunderstand that entire paradigm. maybe I could help articulate it throughout my response video if I decide to do it, which I really do think I need to. But it makes us worry a little bit, bro, to be honest with you. And like I said, I started this stream out with saying, no shill blaming, no, that stuff is toxic, and I don't personally do it. But I'll just say, it definitely makes us wonder, if you've been compromised or something. It makes us wonder, definitely. So I'm just saying that because that's a huge thing. The whole anti-Semitic idea and throwing that at people. Have you heard, if you want to know who truly runs the world, find out who you can't criticize? And also, do you know of the synagogue of Satan? I'm just throwing those few things out there. Do you know what the Star of Rimfam is, what it looks like? Do you know who sits at the top of most major organizations, outlets that put out the most poison? I'm just throwing that stuff out there, and we'll say, maybe a lot of it's coincidental and things, but there is one big major truth. You don't see me doing any of that anti-Semitic, quote unquote, anti-Semitic content. I don't do that stuff. I don't care. Well, I do care, but I don't care to lose my account over it. But honestly, I encourage people to get into the Bible, and the Bible does clearly say that there are people who say they are from the tribe of Judah and are not, but they are the synagogue of Satan. Now think of this. You gotta, sometimes I try to think like, I watch how Satan deceives the world, then I try to think like him sometimes. And you gotta think, man, Satan has to do this one thing, right? He has to infiltrate and deceive the world, right? But he needs to deceive Christians, right? The people who are already deceived, he doesn't really need to deceive them. He's already got them in the bag. What does he got to do? He needs to deceive Christians in the big end, right? The big crescendo. He's got to deceive Christians. How possibly could he do that? Think, wolf in sheep's, he comes as an angel of light. He comes as a wolf in sheep's clothing. So if it came to deceiving Christians, what labels could Satan hide behind in order to gain Christian support to possibly deceive even the elect? Well, why not hide behind the label that the Bible instructs Christians to support and to bless and not curse? I mean, it already says in the Bible that that's who Satan and his clan, the synagogue of Satan, Satan and his church are going to hide behind that label specifically. Jesus warned of that. So when you say flat earthers are anti-Semitic, maybe, just maybe flat earthers have done some digging into the most corrupt corners of the conspiracy world and climbed that pyramid just to see who was at the top, and it just so happened to be one of the members of the synagogue of Satan, just so happened to be wearing that label when they're truly not tribe of Judah. I don't know. I'm just throwing around theory here. And maybe they speculate that. Now, there's a way to go about everything. And to go saying you dislike the Jays definitely isn't the way to do anything. Being racist or discriminatory against any group is definitely not the way to do anything. Because guess what? That's ignorance. And honestly, the height of ignorance is condemnation before proper investigation. And that's what being racist is, or being prejudiced against a group of people is. It's condemning something before properly investigating it. Well, how do you properly investigate a group of people? Well, you have to look in the eye and shake the hand of every single person in that group and then come to a conclusion that you dislike every single one of them. Is that even possible? No. So at its core, racism is stupid. It's lazy. And it makes no sense at all. You can't possibly, it's impossible to hate every single person within a group or an organization because you haven't individually met every single one of those people. So, again, I don't think there's even such thing as racism. Well, maybe there is, actually. I think there's people who will judge someone just by what they believe or the color of their skin and things like that. But even that it's stupid. They're an idiot. You're telling me that you couldn't possibly like one of those people? Not even one? Well, then now you're lying, you know? So I think what it is, man, I don't think it's anti-Semitism anyway. I think people are kind of stupid and don't know how to articulate themselves and don't know how to address the situation or dig down and really, you know, explain their whole take on it. So yeah, there is some people who categorize people and they're ignorant with things. But I tell you what, flat earthers are definitely not anti-Semitic. They're not. They're researchers. They've been to the depths of places that you have not been, and they've seen some things that you don't want to see. Trust me. And it's fired them up. They've gotten upset, and they've exposed some things, some truths that no one truly wants to know, but they have to. You know, we have to get a handle on it. We have to expose the synagogue of Satan. That's a biblical principle. And yes, that's who Satan and his clan, one of the groups that Satan and his clan choose to hide behind in order to deceive Christians. It's one of the things. Kind of like the Antichrist, man. So if the Antichrist came about tomorrow and brought world peace, you know, brought peace in the Middle East, brought world peace, brought these awesome technological advancements. Hey, now artificial intelligence can rule the world and we can get chips in our right hand, and he'd be doing everything that's good on the surface, but and hiding behind a label of a savior or even a messiah or whatever, the world's new superhero. But if the Bible already warned us that this was going to happen and these are the signs of it and this is what to look for, then that's kind of what you go off of. You watch for the signs, you watch for the things. Yeah. So anyway, we've come to the end of our videos and things. So I will react to comments and any questions. I got both YouTube and TikTok pulled up right now, both of the comment sections. So I'll start reading out some comments, guys. If you have any questions, now's the time to put them up. Sounds like they know we aren't hurtling spinning ball. Yeah, exactly. Pess Optimus. Yeah, you're feeling the prog clock model. That's what's up, man. Yeah, the 4 quarters. That's kind of what I'm feeling too, man, to be honest. Dan Olson, Folding Ideas, did a similar documentary. I had always respected his work. Then he came out with Man Tracks, which is a fair and balanced CNN. Oh, man, that sucks. Europe. Oh. Can we say that? Maybe. There you go. Renegade Seed just said it. That's what I think of Genes and maybe Witsit. or Jaron, I think you meant to say, Jaron and maybe Witsit, is that they've been compromised. What do you think? Well, I'll tell you, since we're live here, I guess I can give my official public thoughts. Jaron has done a few things against Christianity that actually ended up getting clipped. I think Jaron is just an idiot anyway. He's said things, he's very arrogant, and he says things without thinking about it live on air, where it can be public, where it can be clipped and stays in the ether and is shared and repeated. Like he said that Jesus Christ could, I won't even say the rest, could suck his, that's just disgusting behavior. He obviously has switched back to a globe, and he knows that the earth is not a globe. He knows. He's done the test. He's obviously deceiving, trying to pull people over to the other side. That's what it seems to me. It's going to be destructive, in the long run. Witsit, actually, I lost kind of my respect for him before the final experiment. Him and Jaron, actually. But Witsit, Vapegate. So he was purposefully doing stuff there that was kind of messed up. And then he completely just treated Flatzoid like garbage, like calling him names, calling Flatzoid names, and treating him like garbage, thinking that we didn't have the actual footage of him hitting the vape coming out of the cabin, going over to the camera, and just made a fool of himself. And then that footage came out, and that's what Flatzoid was referring to in the first place, was the footage of him actually hitting it on the way out. So Witsit just made a fool of himself. But before the final experiment, Witsit had just done a stream on Donald Trump possibly being the Antichrist and lining up with so many prophecies, of the Antichrist, conveniently. And then the next day, or the day after, somewhere within that week, then he went on Modern Day Debates and debated someone that Trump would be the better president. Like, he debated in behalf of Trump, and someone was debating on behalf of Kamala Harris. So I was like, man, come on. That to me shows that you'll pretty much go against what you believe for money. I mean, it looks to me like maybe one of his subscribers possibly paid him money to go and debate on behalf of Trump. To me, that's where I lost my respect for Witsit, personally. Other than that, I think he's great. He gives great information and things. But it makes me worry because people hang on to his every word. People trust him. He's got a huge following, and people really rely on him. So for him to say Trump's the Antichrist on one day, 1 week, and then that very same week debate saying he would be a better president, that's very split-tongue stuff to me. So that's why I personally think he's either bought or could be bought. See, I don't know. I try to stay out of the final experiment stuff. Steph says is Dean Odle. Is that who you're talking about? Dean Odle? Wrapped up in the final experiment. I don't even like addressing the final experiment. I don't like making content on it. Flat Earth is full of it. There's no Flat Earth content creator right now that's making anything other than that. It's just, it was such a distraction tactic. It was such a division tactic. It's been thrown in here now, and now Flat Earth can't shut up about it, and everybody's so divided and at odds about it and stuff. I don't even care. Whether they did or didn't, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Those of us, we've already went out, we've measured the earth. It's obviously not a ball. Science has already proven it's not moving. It's right there. That's easy stuff. But, I mean, I guess people who are weaker in their faith and understanding would look at the final experiment and say, oh, they proved it's a globe. Of course, people who've never actually went out and done the physical measurements and tests would say that. But those of us who've went out and actually done the work and measured the Earth and debunked the radius value of 4,000 miles, we know it's not curving, so it doesn't really matter. I see VOR actually just joined the live stream. You're a little late, man. But I'll address it all again in an actual video. I did play one of your videos today, though, because I really do like that video. So I played it. But yeah, dude, the flat Earth is anti-Semitic thing. Wish you wouldn't have done that, man. Still love you, like I said. But I am going to have to probably make a whole video on that, a whole stream about it. Let's see. We got any more questions? Guys, I'm going to try to keep up. Steph, what's up? Truth Repeater, what's up? Hold on. I'm trying to catch up here. When your entire existence is... Yeah. That's what the scientific community is. Their entire existence is denying Christ. Knowing is growing. Yes, every one person who has tried to debunk flat Earth has had their views altered. I started to see how silly it was. Here I am. Yeah, 2 years later. Exactly. Stuff Hobbs. So that's the main thing with this discussion is I'll have trolls come to my DMs and try to trap me in these never-ending debates where they're trying to like get you mad and reacting and stuff. And I just say, hey, I bet you I know one thing about you for certain. I know for a fact you have not went out and actually done experiments to either prove or disprove to yourself that the Earth is flat. Therefore, I don't want to have a discussion with you. I give them references. I give them, hey, get this piece of equipment. Go here. Where do you live? Oh, there's a good place to do experiments right here. I say, go out and actually do it. When you measure the Earth and it comes back curved, then come back to this, inbox and let me have it. But I know they won't. They'll go out. If they even go out, most people are too lazy to even do it. They'll go out, they'll take their, make their measurement or do their observation. They will see the Earth is in fact not a ball with the circumference of 24,901 miles or the radius of 4,000 miles. They'll come back and say, oh my gosh, dude, I actually went out and did it. You're right. That's what they all do. But most people just want to debate without actually going out and doing anything. And it's lazy to me. And it's ridiculous. And honestly, they don't even deserve our time for debates. Have you went out and done the work? Or are you a lazy person who just wants to have a belief system and a faith system? How about you go prove it? Or disprove it. If you don't believe it's a ball, or if you don't believe it's flat, then just go disprove it then. There's a lot of large bodies of water that should be curving. They should be convex. Go put that to the test. What do you think of the mud fossils and the quarter moon theory? I'm on the fence. Well, Stuff Hobbs, I've got a 2-hour stream right here on this channel on the quarter Earth theory. I think it's plausible, especially if modern science is telling the truth about the magnetic field moving, about where the Antarctica ice caps, ice shelves are freezing and where they're melting. And if the Sahara Desert truly is growing to the south, like they said, and greening up north and in the mid area. And if South America is also, in fact, having the same kind of weather changes year by year, then I think it's very plausible, dude. That's kind of what made me lean that way. Is I was looking at the map and I'm like, okay, so this, and this has to be happening in order for this theory to even have a single bit of merit. And, you know, I don't always trust the scientific community, obviously. But then I thought to myself, I was like, let's see. If all these things are happening, then this map could be true. So I just looked up each individual one of those things, and they just so happen to be happening per modern science. And I thought, you know, what agenda would this play? Well, climate change and things like that. So it does make sense that the quarter Earth theory is true. I guess we'll know whether or not the North Pole moves again. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I was never a fan of Jaren. Yeah, I didn't really watch Jaren too much. Witsit, I could say I was pretty fond of him for a while. I think he brought us some good information for a while. Hey, Miss Bennington. It's good to see you. I'm back. Caught the end of the stream. What's up, Scott? It's good to see you, man. What's the quarter Earth theory? Check out, just scroll down my videos until you come to it. Actually, you know what? I'll show you real quick. I mean, we're here, right? We're here. We might as well pull it up. I've got a whole presentation on it. Let's see. Record. All right. So here's the idea. So we got the AE map. This is what we generally see and believe, right? And boom, you found it to hold water, bro. Yeah, exactly. Hold water, that's funny. All right. So here we are. This is the idea. You know, some people say the moon could possibly be a projection of Earth, a reflection / projection, right? And this one little area here, 1/4 of it, is the Earth's surface. The known AE map that we know. There's some tests, some articles back from the 60s, 1964, saying that they believe that the moon, a mirage, could possibly be a reflection of Earth's surface, right? And then you get this map, which you see Africa, Australia, South America, United States, Canada. You see these regions, right? Well, that's 1/4 of the rest. And the idea is, over a course of, say, 26,000 years, this area of land and the North Pole there will have swung around this entire surface and came back around. It could possibly be the explanation for ancient structures that no one knows how they came to be, where they came from. Cities, full cities beneath the ocean. Could be explanations for a lot of things. But my idea was, okay, so if this is true, well, then we need to look at the two tropics. And you see here, the Sahara Desert, North Africa, would have to be expanding south because the direct sunlight that hits the Sahara would have to be moving slightly. The North Pole and the magnetic field itself would have to also be moving. I said, well, these ice shelves in Antarctica would have to be melting. And these ice shelves in Antarctica would have to be freezing because the sun would be moving further away from them year by year. Which, by the way, every year now, I think the magnetic pole, let's see, I've got it somewhere in here in my research. So I found just everything I could find on this in my research. People sent me stuff on Telegram as well. This is the clock in Prague that depicts the idea of it. This isn't exactly what, wasn't based off of that map, I don't believe, but it just shows the concept. See how the sun and the moon are connected to the center of this constellation wheel, and those two move around this constellation wheel, and the larger constellation wheel moves around the larger circle, right? That's just a kind of a motion example diagram, right? So then you move along, is the AE, and it's pretty much as if the AE map is right there in that 1/4 of the Earth. So then you move on. West Antarctica is what is actually half of Antarctica. East Antarctica is the other half. So it's only sectioned out in 2 halves, really. There isn't really a north and south. There's not a north and south because north is north and Antarctica is south. But we know the elevation and the thickness of the ice is increasing in the area where the sun's moving further away from it. The elevation's rising, which Antarctica is already the overall highest elevation on average with 9,000 feet. There's the Mercator, which this Rupus nigra, the black rock, could be what's in the center of this entire map rather than what's in the center of our map. But hey, who knows? So, we go over mythology and cosmology and how many of them say 4/4 of Earth. Enoch. Several places in the Bible. Quarter has 2 definitions, either 1/4 of or a place in which you can dwell, the quarters. It's like a clock. We got the angels at the 4 corners of the earth. Frog clock again. It could explain ice ages. They said there was an ice age. That could possibly be because that's moving around in that area. They say climate change. This could be an explanation for that. We've seen this map. But to me, when it comes to extra land, the 4/4 map makes the most sense to me. So yeah, Earth's magnetic North Pole is gradually shifting and moving northwest, which what is northwest to north? So that insinuates that there's another major north, true north, other than the North Pole that we know, the center of our magnetic field. So it's heading toward the true north. And we've got, it's moving about 34 miles. As early 2019, it was moving from Canada towards Siberia at the rate of about 34 miles per year. But now, I think it's moving even faster than that. But 34 miles per year. All right. That's quite a ways for the magnetic field to move. All right. And then they also say, yes, Polaris, also known as the North Star, does move slightly as the Earth's North Pole moves. So that's what they say. We don't see it move, but maybe it was. And maybe that's why, one of the reasons why they crushed the, what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank for some reason. Oh my gosh. Why can I not think of that? It's not Stonehenge. It's, dang it. The Guidestones, Georgia Guidestones. All right. So the Sahara Desert has been expanding more than 7,600 square kilometers per year over the past century. And it's expanding to the south, downward, where it would be expanding if the tropic were moving with the magnetic field. To the south, yep. And also, the Sahara Desert is predicted to be green again in 15,000 years. So, it's a desert right now. The tropic is directly above it. But in 15,000 years, that will have moved quite a bit to where it had enough indirect sunlight to have lush green territory. I don't know. Chile, also, temperatures dropping more as the magnetic moves away. Anyway, it gets into more stuff. I've got tons of research on this. Truth Repeater showed me that, wow, the seed of life pattern looks really neat over it. It's like these 7 circles moving around, and that one in the middle where the sun would always touch. What if there is an area of land that always gets sunlight as this moves around the bigger circle? What if that's where Mount Zion is? What if that's the kingdom that can't be shaken, can't be moved? What if that's heaven even, or where New Jerusalem is going to come down and land? I don't know. It's wild, though, to think about. But everything's in spirals, you know? And I know there's a galaxy here, but everything's in spirals. The Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. We start out as a little spiral, little embryo. But like, what if creation, the earth, is spiral? What if it's spiraling somehow? So that's the 4-quarter theory, basically in a nutshell. But I've got a more in-depth research on it. I just didn't feel like going into detail because you'll have me here all day if I do that. Because it is one of my favorite topics. But anyway, thank you for your question. Whips it, vapes it, or yeah, wits it, vapes it. Where's that out there? Pole shift, glacial maximums. Yeah. Anyway, I've got to go soon, so if there's not any more questions, I got to hop off. Usually I do here, actually, I'm going to end the YouTube. So guys, remember, YouTube, I'm going to let you out real quick with a prayer. Father, thank you so much for letting us be here today. Show us your truth throughout the week. Let us seek you in all things. Let us be guided with your awesome majesty. Let us see your will in our lives, and let us help wake others up. In your precious name, amen. All right. See you guys later on the YouTube stream. TikTok, I'm going to hang out with you for a little bit longer. Later.
Always remember, the truth is the truth, whether you believe it or not. The lie needs your permission and participation to even exist. And the only one place that a lie can exist is in the minds of those who are foolish enough to believe it. You're in the 7 Club.